This podcast is proud to be sponsored by Tuvu. Tuvu connects people, families, and communities on their values based social media platform. There's no ads, no explicit content, just fun. Check it out at tuvu.com. Parents continue to have to sue their school districts over secret gender transitions and gender policy. Kate Anderson with the Alliance Defending Freedom will update us on the fight to protect parental rights and to save our kids from progressive and dangerous gender indoctrination that's happening at the schools. Stay with us.
You know, I've never really felt comfortable sharing pictures of my kids on social media. Then I found Tuvu, a premium social app with an actual, authentic community. No bots, no one trolling me or my family. Just clean, wholesome content you can trust.
Welcome to the Moms for America podcast. Each week, special guests tackle the issues facing the moms of America today. Discussions include personal stories and advice on how moms can build a strong foundation of faith, family, and freedom in their homes and country. Well, hello, moms. I'm Debbie Carlitis, your host, and I am so glad that you're joining us again this week on the Moms for America podcast. We are here every week trying to inspire, encourage, and educate moms in their journey through motherhood. That's what we do here every week. We are here for you, moms. I always want to invite everybody here at the beginning of the show to please like, subscribe, and share. I'm going to say it one more time as mom, like, subscribe, and share. We need to get this information out, and we need you to be sharing it with the moms in your circle. Today, another incredible interview regarding the assault on parental rights. Also, if you have any ideas or topics or feedback that you want to send to me, you can send those right to me here at podcast@momsforamerica.net. I would appreciate your feedback and any suggestions that you may have. Also, moms, if you have not joined the Moms for America group, I want to invite you to join Moms for America. We are moms uniting all across the country. We are fighting for faith, family, freedom, and the Constitution. We have about 500,000 moms all across this great land. And there's something to being in a sisterhood, a tribe, a group, a support community of moms that are concerned about their kids, concerned about America, and just really want to do the best that they can in their home and their community. So again, go to momsforamerica.us, check us out. All of our incredible resources and information are right there. Also, you may say, well, how do I join Moms for America? It's super easy. On our website, you can join, sign up for the newsletter. You'll get communication every week from us. We'll let you know about our webinars or seminars, all of our great information that we have on our website, and events that we do across the country. We really do a lot to help you moms and provide great information. We say all issues are mom issues, and that's so true. And we cover them all right on our website and every week for you. Well, alrighty, we are so glad to have Kate Anderson back on the show. Kate was on a few years ago, and we're so glad to have her back because she's going to give us an incredible update on the fight for parental rights. Yes, it's going to be a very interesting discussion today. Kate serves as senior counsel with the Alliance Defending Freedom. At ADF, she is the director of the Center for Parental Rights. You got it. What a crucial role that is at ADF. ADF is the world's largest legal organization committed to protecting religious freedom, free speech, the sanctity of life, and yes, you've got it, parental rights and God's design for marriage and family. So this is going to be a great discussion. Well, welcome, Kate. We're so glad to have you back on the podcast. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Last time you were on maternity leave. You just had a baby. Tell us about the clan over there now, and how big is that little baby?
She just turned 2, so it's been a little while since I've seen you. But yep, I've got 3. Oldest just turned 10, and then 4 and 2. So it's busy over here these days.
It is busy, but it'll go by so quick. I know everybody tells you that, but it is. I'm sure you're even surprised that your 10-year-old, it goes so quick. I was like a blink and it's gone. So
It
hug them
does.
all you can.
Yes.
All right, Kate. Last time we discussed the case of, and there's some exciting news, some updates here. So, again, 2 years ago when we had on, we discussed this case. It was two Wisconsin parents. They had filed a lawsuit. It was BF versus Kettle Moraine School District. And from what I understand, that has a good ending. Tell
It
us about
does.
that.
It was a great win from the trial court saying that what the school district did violated these parents' parental rights. And just to back up a little bit for
Yeah,
your
tell us. What
audience
did
on
they
what
do?
happened there, there was the school district insisted that they were going to secretly socially transition this girl, a 12-year-old girl who was struggling with her body image, with depression, anxiety. She started to wonder about her identity at school. And the school said, we're going to treat her as if she's a boy, even though her parents told them to stop. They were
Mm,
trying to get her the care that she needed. They wanted to slow everything down and give this girl a chance to figure out everything she was dealing with,
right,
especially the anxiety, the depression, the body image issues that they were not seeing anyone addressing. And so they had to pull her from that school and then sue the school district to stop that policy from hurting their daughter. Well, the court stepped
wow,
in and said, you can't do this, school district. You cannot treat a student as the opposite sex when parents tell you not to do that. And thankfully, this girl in a new school was able to have the time and space to work through everything she was facing and is doing wonderfully now. She's in high school now, involved in a lot of activities. I just saw her recently, and she is happy and healthy because she had the chance to work through what she was dealing with as a middle schooler with her parents' support.
right. With her parents in her home, not in public display at a school, affirming and I don't know. I guess I would say a lot of times that they're actually guiding these kids along that journey because they feel like they're doing some kind of good for them. But again, this is a parental right abuse, and I'm so glad that they had the wherewithal and the strength to go ahead, bring it to the firm there and fight against it and win because these victories matter all across the country. Let's talk about another similar case in Michigan, Reed versus Rockford School District. Tell us about that case.
Yeah, well, we're seeing this happen all across the country. That
Right.
school districts are passing these policies or doing it even without a written policy, just as a practice of the school, to treat students as the opposite sex without telling their parents, continuing to do it when their parents tell them that it's not in their child's best interest, and even doing it secretly. And the secret piece is an important
That's it,
part of the
right?
case. With the Meads in Michigan, they were deeply involved in their school. Their daughter had, in middle school, been diagnosed with autism. She was struggling. They knew she was struggling in school. And so they were working really closely with her school, talking to them all the time, sharing information, trying to figure out how to best help their daughter.
Mhm.
And they came to find out in the course of this that the school had been talking to them about her autism diagnosis, but all the time for months hiding from them that the school district and the school officials were treating their daughter as if she were a boy at school. They were even
Incredible.
changing records that they sent home to the parents to remove any reference to a male name and pronouns and replace it with the girl's real name and her female pronouns. And
So they're
so,
willing to talk with the parents about the grades
yes,
and everything else, but they're not willing to talk with them about a gender issue at school where the child is even more confused. And this is what's the craziest thing about this. How would the school ever think that they have the right to separate that? That's all parental rights. It's all parental notification, clearly.
it should be. The schools seem to think that they can take over the role of parents. And that's really what parental rights right now are
Right.
about. It's about parents being the proper people to make decisions for and with their kids when their kids are too young to make them for themselves because they're kids.
Yeah.
And we've long, as a country, understood that kids are born into families. Families, their parents have the best possible position to know what's best for their kids, to want to do
Amen.
what's best for their kids, to have all of the information about that child's history and their needs and their personality, much more than any teacher or school official could ever know. But you're seeing school districts really shift that decision making authority over to individual teachers, to counselors, to school policies in a way that's hurting kids.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened in our Wisconsin case. That girl, actually, a couple of weeks after being pulled out of school, told her mom that all of the affirmation she received at school really, quote unquote, messed me up. So they're
Mm,
recognizing this. And it's the same for this girl in Michigan. Her parents
yeah.
had to pull her from the school to get this to stop. And she's now doing much better in a good relationship with her parents. Her parents are able to help her walk through all that she's dealing with. And these kids need their parents. They don't need school officials driving a wedge between them and their parents.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much. I mean, thank you that there is hope and help all across the country because I know this is the thing that they'll do to these parents too. They'll be like, "Well, you have to uh, participate in this, our suggestions, because you're going to lose custody of your children." They start, threatening these parents, or they'll say, "Do you want a live daughter or a dead son?" And they start all these horrible manipulation of the parents and scaring them to death. And we've got to know as parents, we know our children the best. We decide what is best for them. And if we know that the legal system can get behind us and help defend our parental rights, this gives us all hope. There's all kinds, like you said, all kinds of cases happening across the country and new laws, different things. We're going to get over to California in a little bit on what's going over there. Crazy as always. But there's another case in New York. Tell us about that one. Similar, right? Treating a child that is the opposite sex again.
Yes, very much. A similar situation again, where the school district has a policy that they will immediately push a child towards social transition, at least, if they raise any questions about their identity and not involve their parents. So, another parent who mom was very, very involved in the school, raising concerns with the school, she noticed that her daughter was displaying anxiety. Her daughter was
Right. These
acting like
parents
she didn't
know.
want to go to school. And so she started asking the teachers, and the teachers said, "There's nothing wrong." The principal said, "There's nothing wrong." The counselor said, "There's nothing wrong." All this time, they'd been treating this girl as if she were a boy and hiding it from mom. Finally, one teacher said to the principal, "I'm not going to hide it anymore. You have to tell this, mom." And
Good
so the
for
principal
her.
did. Mom had to pull her daughter from school because once she knew and said, "I need to figure this out with my daughter. She needs me. I don't think this is best to push her into something while we're trying to figure this out." The school said, "We're going to keep treating her as a boy no matter what you say." So she had to pull her from school, put her in a different school, miles and miles away from them. And her daughter's doing really well now because she had time and space and the support of her family to
Mm,
walk through what she was dealing with. And that's what these kids need. I think you're absolutely right that the emotional blackmail of parents is a huge issue.
yeah.
Kids are struggling and they need their parents to be able to walk through these things with them. And even experts that come out in different conclusions on what you do with a child who's struggling say that parents need to be involved, that they need to have their parents
Yeah.
walking through and helping them figure these things out.
Yeah, how dare the school think that that should not be included? No one loves their children more than those parents and knows their children better, and wants the very best for them. So, um, I just look at this and I wonder why can't we maybe do all these as one case? Can we get a law passed? What can we do with these? Because they're happening all across the country. I know President Trump's talked about this. No, no more secret spaces in schools. So thank you for what he would hopefully do. But this culture has decided that they can do this. The school systems, these counselors, teachers, and so on. Can we get a big lawsuit together, or is it better to do these individually? I'm just curious about that.
Well, I think for the litigation, it's easiest to bring the cases forward in particular courts with particular facts
I gotcha.
where you have this situation that's really happened to a family. A couple of years ago, we tried to bring a number of cases challenging these kinds of policies before they hurt kids. And the courts uniformly said, we're not going to address that yet because we don't know if this is going to happen
Mm,
to your kid. So they're using this doctrine of standing, the idea of whether you can get into the court and whether the court can decide the issue, to not decide issues before a child is hurt. I think we have an opportunity to revisit that in the litigation, but
mhm.
right now there have had to be a number of cases where kids were hurt and the court has the opportunity to say, okay, school district, you really did do what we thought you would do, and you cannot do that without violating parental rights. But
Right.
beyond that, there are a lot of uh, legislative efforts in the school or across the country to, on the
Right.
state level as well as on the federal level, ensure that parents get information from schools that these kinds of policies can't continue on. And that is a definite important movement that's going on, as well as all the work that grassroots groups are doing with their local school
Mm,
districts. Because candidly, I think the biggest impact
mhm.
has been changing local school boards and their individual policies on these issues.
Absolutely. Exposing it, holding that accountable, and taking on these policies in right in your home. And moms are doing it all across the country. Our moms are very motivated and very much pushing back and demanding accountability and transparency in these schools. How much has this? You've been an attorney there. The law group there has been doing this for decades. How much of this has it expanded? I mean, is somebody told me that like gender transition is up 500% and court cases are up this much. And you never had this 10 years ago. Now you do. And kind of give us a picture of how often it's happening.
I think this has become a big issue in just the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, historically, cases across the country protected parental rights. If we're talking 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, people understood that the family is the proper place for kids to be raised. Parents are in the best position to direct their kids' upbringing and education. And that's why the courts talked about that as something that the Constitution recognized. It's not a right given to us by the Constitution, it's a right we innately have, but
That's
it's a
right.
right that the Constitution recognizes and protects because it's so vitally important to our culture and society. And so the courts recognized that, and the cases did, the law did, and we didn't see these kinds of attacks. But I think there's been a slow slide into the uprising of gender identity,
Mhm.
CRT in schools, some of these ideologies really being pushed into the schools. And when COVID happened, parents saw at their dining room table exactly what their
What
kids
was
were being
happening?
taught
Yeah.
and what was being done and said. And they had deep concerns about it. So, post COVID, we've seen a rise in litigation as parents began to act on what they were seeing in their schools and push back. And I think that we talked a minute ago about the moms groups that have been really involved and the
Mhm.
moms at their local school boards. I think that
Yeah.
has had a huge impact. We saw that change the political climate in Virginia in the last election cycle. I expect it will have a big impact in this coming election cycle. We've also seen an uptick in cases, in laws being
Sure.
passed on transparency in schools, on parental rights, as well as the rising litigation on this issue. Within the last year or so, I've seen a lot of it center on the gender identity issue, just because we're seeing so many more of these policies spread school district to school district across the country. If it's places like Rockford, Michigan, which is
Right.
a fairly small, fairly conservative area, it's everywhere. And that's
It
really
is.
what we're seeing. So that's become a big issue. But with cases like Kettle Moraine, I think you're seeing very positive movement from the courts in stopping these.
Good. It seems so obvious, but it's shocking that parents have to go all the way to court to defend their parental rights. Let's talk about Colorado. More crazy cases. This is a little bit different. There's a case that ADF is doing there with Joe and Serena Wales. I'm not sure how to say their last name, but
Yes,
their
that was right.
11-year Wales. Okay, their 11-year-old daughter was expected to share a bed with a male, identifying as a female, and an overnight trip. Unimaginable. I can't even believe this. I would be livid. Tell us about this case.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. She prepared for and went on an overnight. It was to Philadelphia and DC, as many fifth graders do around the country. And she had been working for 18 months to get ready for the trip, selling lemonade to pay for her spending money,
Ugh,
preparing all the way. All the time she was preparing, the school district told her and her parents that they were going to room students based on their sex. So girls would be on one floor, boys would be on another floor. They weren't even allowed to go to each other's rooms or floors. except
Right.
with a chaperone and special permission. So this is the information they had going into the trip. First night of the trip, she was in a room with two girls she knew and a student from another school who she was supposed to share a bed with, and learned that night that the individual she was supposed to share a bed with was biologically male. She wasn't told this ahead of time. Her parents weren't told this ahead of time. The student told her. She was very uncomfortable sharing a bed with a boy. So she had to call her parents, talk to chaperones. Eventually, they reorganized rooms. But when the Whales got back, they were told this was district policy to room students based on their gender identity, not to tell any of the parents or the students, and that there would be no assurance of any kind of an accommodation in the future for
Mm.
any additional privacy for anyone who was uncomfortable sharing a bed with a student of the opposite sex. And we're talking about fifth graders and hiding this information from them and their parents.
How awkward, how uncomfortable. And this is where it just infuriates moms at every level, and parents, obviously, in general, is that what about the child? We're rearranging everything for another child that has major confusion and issues. What about this child? This doesn't matter. This little girl doesn't matter. It's only the one person matters. And then it affects everything, and, if your heart goes out to that family that's dealing with gender confusion in their home, but you still have to think about the other children, and this is where it gets really, really dicey because parents feel like their children should be protected and that they should be, it should be by their sex, not you can't just intermix. So, I mean, crazy. So what happened there?
Well, it's the policy is bad for all students because it's
Right.
hiding information from parents and putting both kids in an
Hide it.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
And so we sent letters to the school district demanding that they just give the information to parents and allow them an opportunity to opt out, even in a vacuum, before there's
Mm,
a particular student or a particular situation
get
in
ahead of it.
place. They
Right.
could at the beginning of the year, they could in relationship to a particular trip, just
Okay.
allow parents to know how they're going to room kids and make other arrangements so that everybody in each of the rooms is going to be comfortable with their rooming arrangement and their parents are going to be comfortable with
Sure.
their rooming arrangement. We're talking about privacy and personal
Children.
space, sharing a bed. We came to find out that this is not an isolated policy or incident. This is what they do for sports trips. This is what they do for a sixth grade trip that all sixth graders in the district go on. For science, it's a 4 day
Wow.
outdoor lab where they have no access to phones. They can't call their parents and they're roomed in cabins. And we found out that in the cabins, they will assign and did last year assign a student of the opposite sex to be the counselor in charge of the cabin. So you have an 18-year-old of the opposite sex of the sixth graders that he or she is in charge of, monitoring their sleeping, their changing, even timing their showers in that cabin and then staying in that cabin with them with kids who have no ability to call their parents or try to make other arrangements and don't know that this is the arrangement ahead of time. So it's a widespread problem that needs to be dealt with in Colorado or in Jefferson County.
Oh, horrible. Are we making any headway there? I mean, obviously, they're exposing it. Thank goodness these parents brought it up.
Yes, we have sent two letters that we've exchanged with the school district trying to get them to change their policy
And they're
to
not?
assure
They're
that
just
parents are going to get the information. And we're working with them on that. We're also certainly evaluating if we need to file litigation on it.
oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, just the insanity of it all. More insanity there in California. Are you in California?
I'm not. I'm in Washington,
You're
which
in
is
Washington.
a
Okay.
close neighbor.
I can't remember where you were at, but I mean, boy, we have got a lot of, moms are in California trying to figure out if they're even going to stay. We know there's been a mass exodus there in California because of the assault on the American family. So Governor Newsom signed a bill that will prohibit schools from notifying parents regarding any type of change of their children's gender identity at school. They will prohibit schools from notifying parents. Okay, this is a law, right? Am I saying this correctly? Have California parents lost all of their parental rights regarding their children at school now?
Well, the law is technically preventing school districts from punishing any teacher who hides the information from parents. So there's
Okay.
one step in between. But yes, essentially, this is another piece of the policy in California that for a while has really tried to require schools to not notify parents. So there were several lawsuits
Mm,
6 months, a year ago, involving the attorney general and school districts that wanted to pass policies to ensure that parents would be notified. There are some cases going up through the courts where parents weren't notified, similar to our Michigan and Wisconsin and New York cases. There's also been a case with teachers called the Mirabelli case
sure.
that challenged law policies at the school that said the teachers had to engage in socially transitioning a student against their free speech and religious freedom rights when they wanted to tell parents. That one had a great decision, early
Yeah.
decision from the court saying that that would violate parental rights as well as the rights of the teachers. So that was a great sign in California. The case that's similar to our Wisconsin case that involved a secret transition of a student has gone up to the Ninth Circuit and is waiting for a decision from the Court of Appeals that governs over California, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Arizona. And so we'll see what happens there. That may play into and inform some of what's going on in the state. But certainly you're seeing policy after policy coming out from the government there, trying to force schools to transition kids and hide it from their parents.
Well, like you just said too, terrible. Just terrible. I can't believe it. That what about the teachers that want to just teach? Right?
Teachers
Like you
have
said, what now they have to become agents for this indoctrination or agents for affirming, something that they know that is could be detrimental to the child. I mean, when the child starts transitioning with a name, if this doesn't get a hold of, they're all of a sudden they're looking at the drugs, the puberty blockers. All of a sudden they're talking about, mutilating their body. I mean, this is like big stuff. This isn't kind of like, hey, you're having too much sugar at school. This is like huge life altering issues. So these poor teachers, I just want to have another comment on that because that's got to be extremely tough for them.
Yeah, the secret transition issue is huge because once a child socially transitions, they're on a pathway to
Sure.
medicalization and they're ending up in medicalization,
Yeah.
surgeries, medications at a much higher rate.
Yeah.
It's just the statistics that are coming out on that are very, very concerning. And those are lifelong consequences. We've seen some detransition or lawsuits across the country where kids who were pushed down this path ended up with surgeries and medicalization are challenging their doctors. But to
Yeah.
the teacher point,
Hmm.
teachers have been critically important in this issue. Wonderful teachers at every school who are pushing it back against these policies. And some of the best cases that have come out so far have been brought by teachers saying, I cannot engage in pushing a kid to socially transition, and I
Hmm.
cannot lie to parents. So there was that great decision in California. There was one in Kansas. There was one in Virginia. We have a case on behalf of teachers in Virginia, as well as a case on behalf of a counselor in Indiana. And
Mm.
those cases across the country are having a big impact because while I talked about earlier that the courts were uncomfortable weighing in against these policies when a kid hadn't actually been transitioned yet, the teachers aren't in that position. They're under a pending policy that says this, you will do this with any kid that comes to you with this concern. And so that has given them an entryway into the courts and brought about some really important case law that's protecting both the teachers and parents.
Well, like you also brought up counselors. I mean, what a tough position that is when you have a child, you're counseling at school, not to say anything to the parents either.
Yeah. And a lot of this is going through the counseling offices, and it's counselors who are being told they have to inform all of the teachers that they need to use a different name and pronoun. They need to talk to the kids about whether or not they're going to tell their parents. And you have great counselors across the country that are very concerned, especially now that so much of the science is being debunked on this issue. And there are
Right.
so many studies coming out from Europe and now into the United States showing that pushing a kid to social transition is not good and does not improve lifelong outcomes for most kids. That we need to leave kids alone and give them the chance to work through everything that they're dealing with. And medicalization has all of these really dangerous and lifelong consequences. So you have counselors caught in the middle on this,
Sure. Can you imagine
being engaged
what
now.
going to work is like there? You know, and if you are uncomfortable with the policy that the school has done, you threaten to lose your job, and you know that you could be you'll be canceled for sure. I mean, they'll move you out. But again, they can come to you. Tell us about the services that you do across the country. I know you're taking on these battles, but it's not. It's all. Is it all cases? It's all freedom, liberty cases.
So ADF is a nonprofit legal organization, and we take cases across the country focused on free speech, on
Yeah.
religious freedom, on life issues, and on parental rights. And so we take a variety of cases. My team personally is focused on parental rights, the
Yeah.
idea that parents are the right ones to direct their kids' upbringing and education, and
Love that.
that the Constitution has long protected that and continues to protect it at the highest levels. That means that
Yes.
we mostly represent parents, but we do represent some teachers. And one of our other legal teams is very focused on helping teachers with this issue and others because the free speech and religious freedom concerns for teachers in the schools is a big issue right now as well. And so they're taking up that fight and trying to protect teachers. Our education system needs wonderful teachers
Yeah.
partnering with parents for the good of kids. And that's really
Mm,
what both of these issues are about.
well said. What great, great teachers parenting with this. The whole system needs to work together, not create division. And that's really what they're doing in the schools too, right? They just divide the children from the family, from the home, get that wedge in there, and all of a sudden they're the safe space, but your parents don't understand. And that's where all that counseling starts to really come in and really destroy the child's relationship with mom and dad.
Absolutely. And to share again from our Wisconsin case, talking to that girl, she
Mm,
talked to me about how she was told things that made her think her parents were the problem.
mm,
That wedge, she really felt that wedge with her parents, that they were the ones who didn't understand her, that they were the ones that were going to drive her to more depression, to deeper issues. And it wasn't until she was out of the environment that was really speaking that into her that she realized, and that was where the light bulb came on for her, that her parents were the only ones that actually
yeah.
cared about her, that were willing to do whatever it took to make sure that she had the care that she needed, that she was comfortable in her own skin, that she could deal with all of the things that she was feeling as a middle school girl. And that switch was what really helped her start to heal.
Yeah. Let's talk about Title IX. This is another really scary place that's happening. President Biden made these changes to Title IX that have negatively affected the rights of females. And in all kinds of spaces in schools and college campuses. This is another issue, fundamental issue that we have males, biological males competing with in women's sports and in women's spaces. I'd love to have you talk a little bit about what you're seeing about this because that is another really parents are concerned about sending their kids to college campuses or losing their scholarships. I mean, or safety. I mean, can you imagine sending your child to a college where they've got to compete against a male in basketball? I mean, there's so many levels to this that are wrong. Um, tell us what you're seeing about this Title IX roll off.
Yeah, so the changes to the regulations in practical terms changed sex to gender identity in the
Right.
Title IX protections that have long protected, particularly women's sports, but other issues involving women at schools. Privacy issues are a big issue on this. So, what we've seen is in response to that, a lot of litigation because
Yeah.
there's big concern about women's sports, women having to compete against males, as you mentioned, as well as the impact on access to private spaces for women and
Hmm.
girls, for their privacy, for their safety,
Sure.
as well as it is increasing what we talked about in these secret transition policies. While the new regulations do not strictly require school districts to adopt more of these secret transitioning policies, it lays the groundwork for schools to increase the numbers of those policies and to say that they're doing it because of Title IX, because of the changes from sex to gender identity. So it's hit a lot of those issues. It's impacting teachers, all of the
Sure.
things we've been talking about. So what we've seen is a large amount of litigation. ADF is involved in 5 different lawsuits. I believe there are 10 or 15 total. Um, great decisions coming out of the courts early on. So
Yay.
stopping the application of these kinds of regulations to particular states that are involved in the litigation. So I think there are 15 states that those injunctions have stopped the implications of Title IX so far. There's also been a ruling out of a court in Kansas saying that some of the member organizations that filed suit, like Moms for Liberty, a group protecting teachers, a group protecting women's sports, that any schools where those members of those organizations are located cannot enforce this regulation against these students. So it's
Mhm.
providing broader protection moving up through the courts. So I think there's a lot of hope there. And I think it's been interesting to see so many states, as well as individuals, teachers, school districts, girls, all pushing back against these regulations.
Boy, there's a lot of warriors out there fighting these battles one by one. So I do want to just have everybody stay with us because we're going to go to a quick break. We're going to come back with Kate. She's going to discuss some other legal matters and give some advice to parents on how to deal with this in this culture and provide some great solutions with ADF. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
What kind of America do you want to leave future generations? What do you want America to look like for your children and your grandchildren? Our nation is at a crossroads, and it will be us, the mothers of America, who will determine the future of our country. What we teach and nurture in the hearts of our children and how we vote will make all the difference. If you love God, respect life, honor family, and cherish freedom, then use your voice and be heard. We teach these values in our home. Let's secure them with our vote.
All right, Kate, thanks. Welcome back here. So, parental rights, we've been talking about it so much. We've been talking about the gender crisis confusion all across America, how it's basically in everyone's schools. If it's not in the school, it's in a locker room. It's on social media. It's everywhere. It's on every facet right now. ADF is doing a great job. I would like you to just give a snapshot of how, if moms, parents are having issues in their school, in their community, how do they fight against this? How do they contact you, and what services would you help provide to them? Or like what's the requirements, I guess, basically? Because this is what everybody's saying, well, sue them. Sue them. Stand up for your rights. This is where everybody goes, right? Take them on. But who helps take this on? You do.
Well, moms can certainly, all parents can certainly contact us at adflegal.org. We have an intake form online, as well as you can call any of our offices and talk to our intake line to get general advice, as well as connect with us attorneys. The litigation piece of it is really important. I think we've reached a stage where we need good strategic litigation that is going to stop this across the country. So, particularly the secret social transition policies, if you're dealing with this, call us because we can give advice as well as we need to really stand up in litigation on this issue. But beyond that, ADF is trying to provide resources to parents because not everything needs to end up in litigation. So, being informed about the cases, how they impact your school district, informed about legislation going on in your state, because you can certainly write letters, call lawmakers, support that. And that's really important. I'd advise everyone to be attentive to what's going on at their school boards. I'm guilty of it too, not paying that much attention to my school board for years and years. But they are really important races, really important policies. And we're seeing parents make a big difference when they go to school board meetings, when they provide information to school board members and help them see how good policies serve their community, their kids, benefit the kids in the school, benefit the teachers and the parents. We're also trying to build out resources. We just did a K-12 guide for teachers that's available on our website. We
Mm.
have a parental rights toolkit and are going to launch a new version of it shortly, but there's an existing version of it that's very helpful to try to provide just snapshot legal information about your rights, about the laws that are really impacting the schools right now.
Mhm.
And we're continuing to build out more. So through our website, you can find those things. We have a parental rights issue page that is up that is providing detailed information about the cases, the laws that are
Right.
going on, as well as links to these kinds of resources that we'd like to continue to try to provide to help parents. Because litigation is a lot, but it's not everything. And every parent just needs to be informed
Mhm.
about what's going on and how they can get involved.
And empower them, right?
Yeah,
Because if the parents feel strong and informed and educated about their rights, you parents, your parental rights, you're stronger to go and fight it. You're stronger to stand up. You won't be bullied by the school or a teacher or a counselor. You'll know that your rights are fundamental as a parent. When
absolutely.
these cases win, that helps, right? So litigation does help uh, start the process, right? Does it? I don't want to say intimidate other things, but when cases are being won around the country, do other schools kind of look at that and say, "Hey, this isn't going very well in other parts of the country. Maybe we should, reevaluate." Does that helps, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The litigation is important because it changes the court's decision changes that school
Right.
district. It often changes that state or a set of states that
Mm-hmm.
are then bound by whatever decision. But beyond that, it makes an impact across the country because school districts don't want to be sued. And when they know that litigation is going on, that they could be sued, that courts are weighing against them on these
Yeah,
issues,
they're not winning. Yeah.
school districts that want to go the wrong way will be intimidated by that. And school districts that want to go the right way will feel empowered that the law is behind them and that they are protected by the law in making the right decision. So I think it runs both ways in helping support good policies at school districts that want to do the right things and good policies in school districts that don't really want to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah, the ripple effect is good both ways.
Yes. Yes.
Advice to moms that are listening and parents that are, maybe in a similar situation or know of someone. I'd love for you just to kind of share some advice and some encouragement for them to stay in the fight and know that there is help and assistance out there. What would
Yes.
you say, Kate?
I would just say to every parent, you know your kids best, and be confident about that you know your kids best.
Right.
We all need to be informed about, particularly the gender identity issues and how they're infecting our youth and impacting particularly young girls, but all students. And just know that you know what your kid needs. You need to walk along with them and be brave about that. The law is behind you. It has
Mhm.
long been behind you that the Constitution protects the upbringing and education of your kids. And some of the school districts and some of our government officials have swayed away from that. But that doesn't mean they won't be brought back in line with what is constitutional and right, because you do know your kids best and the Constitution gets that. So the litigation, it's important to know about it for the reasons that we've been talking about. Um, if you're in a situation where you need specific legal advice, call us, and then just be engaged and informed about what's going on in your state, what's going on in your school and your school district, because you can have a huge impact. We have seen that across the country. And there are so many grassroots groups forming to
Yes.
really band
There.
parents together, increase the flow of information, and help support parents to really stand up for their kid and other kids in the schools.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, when you just said that, that was just kind of like resonated in my heart. When you take a stand like that, you're making a huge difference for your community, your state, and for other families, So it's like, you know, we're all in this together. And when someone does stand up and fight this in the courts with your help, that helps everyone else around the country. The assault on freedom in general, Kate, I know, has been a battle since the beginning of time, but it does seem like freedom and liberty and the disregard for the Constitution is at an all-time high. Parental rights is just just a symptom of where the country and the culture is right now. What what can we do more, or what are you doing, or what can we see in this arena of life right now to preserve freedom and to preserve liberty and to defend the Constitution? I mean, it just seems like at every corner they're just trying to destroy America.
I think understanding that freedoms do run together, and that's what we've seen in our country and in other countries. When you start to see attacks on religious freedom, on free speech,
Mm,
other freedoms start to break down as well. And so we need to fight for our freedom. We need to fight for the freedom of people that don't agree with us, because more free speech, more religious freedom is better for everybody. And the same is true with parental rights. These freedoms are vitally important to the existence of our country. It's everything.
right.
So
It's
just
foundation.
knowing and being confident that those freedoms all flow together and that they are worth protecting.
Amen, sister. Well, I know you've got a full tribe. That's the next generation that we're fighting for. These moms that are listening or grandparents, we're fighting for the next generation. We are literally fighting for the heart and soul of America, and it's all relates to the family. That's the unit. Like you said earlier, nothing is more important than the family, and we have to defend it and defend the parental rights in each home across America. So, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you to ADF for taking a stand and being just warriors in the battle here.
Well, thank you so much for what you're doing, because I think this is an issue we have to win in the courts. We have to win in the state legislatures, the federal legislature, and we have to win it in every home. It's taking all of us working together to protect these important freedoms.
Yes, and there's hope. There's hope, parents. We're fighting back and we're winning. So that's what we would love to hear, those updates on those stories. We love to hear that all across the country, there are big wins and there's big wins for freedom and there's big wins for parental rights. So thank you. We appreciate you. Hug those kiddos and hopefully we'll have you back in a little bit again to give us some more updates. So we appreciate it.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks again, Kate. Thank you to Alliance Defending Freedom. Again, go to adflegal.org. Check out all of their information. But before we wrap up officially here, I do want to mention a couple of things that we have here at Moms for America that are right on topic here. We have a guide to parental rights. Both of these brochures are available on our website, momsforamerica.us. They're free downloadables, or you can order them. But this is a mom's guide to parental rights. There are 10 points in here that will help you think through and actually provide a lot of information. There's the parental rights related to your child's education, all the way to action steps, freedom in your schools, how to get bad teachers out of your schools, federal laws that protect the rights of parents. There's 10 points in here, and it is very well done. So go ahead, check that out. A Mom's Guide to Parental Rights. I got to put my glasses on here so I can't read all my print here. That we also have gender confusion, what you need to know on how to protect your child. A lot of these are very important topics for you. The sudden rise of gender confusion, targeting our kids, who is behind this and what is happening, all the way to action steps for parents, both on the legal side and how to protect your parental rights. So again, gender confusion, what you need to know to protect your child, and a mom's guide to parental rights. These are very important and great resources for you that you can check out all at Moms for America. We also have CRT, we also have SEL, we have all kinds of different brochures available for you moms. We say this every week. We are here to help support moms on your journey through motherhood, and that we here at Moms for America, all issues are mom issues, whether it's gender confusion, whether it's an assault on your parental rights, whether it's education, whether it's homeschooling, whether it's how to raise patriotic children. All of these affect all of us. So screen time, depression, what all that is, those all affect us in our home with our kids. We need to be praying with them, protecting them. And there's nothing like the mama bears rising up to teach, train, love, and raise up. Raise up our kids that God gave us on loan here. So, again, we are here to help you, moms. Visit us at momsforamerica.us, momsforamerica.us, and sign up for our newsletter. Get all that information. When you're there, also check out our signature program, which is called the Cottage Meetings, 12 series that talk about America's heritage, our liberty, our freedom, our Constitution. It is a great program. It's a great lesson. Like I said, there's 12 of them. You can go through them in your home or with another group of women. teach and train yourself so you can teach and train your kids. Again, that is the cottage meeting. So all that is on our website. We just love to provide this information to you. We say this every week that moms, you are the heartbeat of your home, and that liberty begins at home, and that you are your child, you're your baby's greatest influencers. So just know that you are given this beautiful assignment from God, and every week we hope to help train, teach, empower, and inspire you. So moms, let's keep changing our country one home at a time, and I will see you next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and we'll be talking to you soon. God bless.